Hi everyone, I'm Amelia and I'm 5 years old.
Hi, I'm Zosha and I'm 8 years old.
Hi everyone, this is Mommy.
What's up, everyone? I'm Daddy.
And you're listening to
It's Movie Night.
And this week we watched
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Paramount Pictures put out this teenage classic in 1986. It's rated PG-13 and has a runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes. Some other movies Paramount released around that time were Top Gun and My Little Pony, the movie.
Amelia, what would you say this movie's about?
It's about a boy who takes a day off and then he keeps calling his friend until he comes over. And then they just have fun.
That's exactly what this movie's about. This movie's about a young man who fakes sick to stay home from high school so he can have a fun day in Chicago with his 2 friends.
Some familiar faces and voices. Ferris Bueller is played by Matthew Broderick. He does the voice of grown-up Simba in The Lion King. And then Amelia recognized him from something else. Who is he, Amelia?
Inspector Gadget.
Yes, he is John Brown, or Inspector Gadget from Inspector Gadget. He is also Stephen Kovacs in The Cable Guy. Cameron Fry is played by Alan Ruck. He is Stevens in Speed, Robert Nurek in Twister, which Daddy and I love to watch, and he is also Connor Roy in Succession.
We heard that show's really good, so I had to put it in here because I'm sure there's a lot of people that do love Succession.
I've heard good things. Sloane Peterson is played by Mia Sara, who is in a lot of TV movies. She plays Princess Langwidere in The Witches of Oz, Harley Quinn from the Birds of Prey TV series in 2002, and Melissa in Time Cop.
I love Time Cop, so I had to include that one in the notes.
And then we have Ed Rooney, who is played by Jeffrey Jones. I know him the most as Charles from Beetlejuice, but you might recognize him as Uncle Crenshaw in Stuart Little, or Dr. Walter Jennings in Howard the Duck.
And then some other actors we want to show some love to. Jeannie Bueller is played by Jennifer Grey. She is mostly known as Baby Houseman from Dirty Dancing.
Talk about a classic.
The boy in the police station is played by Charlie Sheen. I'd say he's most famous as Ricky Vaughn from Major League. Love that movie. And then Grace is played by Edie McClurg. She is the car rental agent from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
With an amazing scene.
Yes, great scene. And then the director of this movie is John Hughes. You had mentioned teen classic earlier, or teen iconic movie. I can't remember what you said.
Teenage classic.
Yes, other ones he did, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Weird Science, and then Planes, Trains, and Automobiles as well. So all iconic movies.
Yeah, and he also wrote Vacation, Uncle Buck, Home Alone, Beethoven, Dennis the Menace. I mean, this guy's resume is so close to perfect.
Yes, it's incredible. And he has a lot more writing credits than he does directing credits. So there's a lot of things in there that I'm sure a lot of people weren't even aware that he wrote these movies.
He's been a part of a lot of great projects.
He has. So you had mentioned that this movie came out in 1986. We were not born, so I'm not going to ask you if we saw it in theaters, but but how old were you the first time you watched it, and do you remember liking it?
I know that I was very, very young. I had to have been somewhere around Amelia's age, so kindergarten.
Okay.
Because it was always on in the background. I feel like John Hughes movies in general were always on in the background or on TV.
I could agree with that.
And I loved it. I remember Matthew Broderick as being one of the very first little girl crushes I had when he comes out. And I was like, ooh, Ferris Bueller's cute.
Oh, yeah. He's got that riz. Even I wanted to be Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. I mean, who else would come out singing on a parade like that?
Yep.
What about you, Daddy? How old were you?
I was probably 4. I was probably younger than our girls. I had to have been because, my parents were young at this time the movie came out, so I know that they were watching it. So, yeah, I know I watched it super young, and I liked it a lot.
I know your parents love Breakfast Club, so I'm sure this was part of their playlist.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a first-time watch for both of our girls at 8 and 5.
Yes. So, first off, I want to talk about this with you, Mommy. Have you ever faked sick to get out of going to school?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Now, whether or not I got away with it is a completely different answer because my mom would immediately go for the thermometer, and my mom works at a hospital, so she saw through it pretty quick.
Do you feel like you have a story? Do you remember a specific time?
It was mostly, to be honest, for CCD than actual school. I tried, you can ask her almost every week. I'd be like, oh man, I hit my elbow at school. Just the dumbest thing that wouldn't get me out of going, but I would try.
Yeah.
What about you?
I do remember faking sick quite a bit. I was not I would say, smart kid in school. I was more of a mischievous kid. So yeah, I definitely try to get out of school. There's one time that I remember getting out of school early, and it was because my dad had told my brother and I that he had gotten Cubs tickets, and they were really good seats. So we had planned ahead of time that we were going to get out of school early. We had to say we had a doctor's appointment, and my dad had us both picked up by my grandpa, which is very funny. He dropped us off at a train station, and then we took the train to the city, and my dad picked us up from the train station. We went to a Cubs game. And then my dad was like, you guys want to go to a Sox game? And we're like, sure. So we went across town and went to a Sox game after. And we didn't get back home till it was later at night. And I remember seeing the fireworks, which means that the Chicago White Sox won. So this was something that, we should have been in school, but we got out and my dad brought us and we played hooky. It was awesome.
It is a beautiful core memory.
It is
there.
a very much
Yeah.
a beautiful core memory. I know that our girls are going to fake sick at some point in their lives growing up, and I can't tell what kind of parents we're going to be. We're going to be the thermometer parent, or we're going to let them be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Your stomach hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I've already let them skip school knowing they weren't sick already, just because, when Zosha comes to you and goes, I just want to spend more time with you now that she's in full day school. How am I going to say no to that? I'll be like, okay, you can stay home.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a day at some point in their school lives that we're going to be like, you know what, let's play hooky. Let's go do this today.
Absolutely, because we're the type of family that doesn't like doing things on the weekends because everything is super busy and that's when everyone else is off of work. So let's go on like a Tuesday.
Heck yeah.
So we're talking a lot about skipping school, but let's talk about how school is depicted in this movie. It is so boring.
Yeah, there's a scene that's obviously the iconic Bueller scene.
Adamson.
Here.
Adler.
Here.
Anderson. Anderson.
Here.
Bueller. Bueller. Bueller.
And these kids like the drool almost coming out of their mouths and stuff.
Falling asleep in class, just not even paying attention.
And I know that all of us have felt this at some point in our life. Even our girls, as young as they are. Have you ever just been sitting at school, girls, and you zone out and you don't know how long it's been since you were paying attention to your teacher talking?
Yeah.
I saw you look right away. What about you, Amelia?
No, I pay attention.
Well, you're in kindergarten, so I guess that's still the fun stuff. But for this movie with high school, I think it's really accurate. It's all dry content. It's boring. Most of us don't want to be there. Versus some other movies that have school represented as being super fun. High School Musical, School of Rock, Monsters University, and then Parents. I know Daddy and I for sure are super bad.
Oh yeah, I want to go to those schools for sure.
Yes, it just looks like so much more fun. I want to cook in the middle of the day. Our home ec wasn't anything like that.
No, and play some rock music in the middle of school. Heck yeah. So some favorite scenes of this movie. Amelia, you said you had a favorite scene. It's a weird one, but tell us what happens.
I like when they go to pick up Sloan from school and Cameron's in the back seat. And I just like it.
Yeah, you were telling us that was your favorite scene, and I'm like, out of all the scenes in the movie, this is your favorite scene? Okay.
It's funny when he's hiding, and I like when Sloan says hi, and then he says back, hi, Sloan.
Yeah, he whispers it.
Hi, Cameron. You comfortable?
Hi, Sloan. No.
It's a memorable scene, but yeah, favorite scene? Probably not my favorite scene.
What's your favorite?
So my favorite scene is when Cameron calls into the principal, Rooney, and he's calling in as Sloane's dad. But Edward Rooney thinks that it's Ferris Bueller, so he's like, he's not having it. He's kind of talking mess to him and like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And Grace, his assistant, gets a phone call from Ferris Bueller. So Grace comes over and she's like, stop, stop, stop. But Rooney just says, oh no, it's Ferris. And then she finally says to him,
Cat,
Pucker up, Buttercup.
What? Ferris Bueller's online too.
and you see the look of dread in Rooney's face, and he just knows, like, oh my gosh, he messed up. Although he is in the right because it is a fake phone call, but yeah, it's just funny.
Zosha, did you have a favorite scene?
I like when the guys take the car and Star Wars music comes on.
Ah, yes. I remember that scene. Very iconic scene. That always stuck with me as well. Like, why is there Star Wars music playing right now?
It always baffled me. I had no idea why they chose that music for that scene, but it looked like the valets were having their own day off.
They were. How about you, Mommy? What was your favorite scene?
I'm going to go for the classic of this movie and say the parade. It's just magical. It's a time where a kid like that could get away with it because they didn't broadcast absolutely everything on TV.
Yeah.
Because nowadays they're like, oh, well, his parents are just going to see him. There are no phones like there are now or anything like that.
There's no TikTok.
No, none of that. So he could just hop in and have fun. But I like that no one says a word to him. They're not like, where did this kid come from? Why did they stop the parade? Was it always planned that they were going to stop and sing? I have no idea. There's a lot of confusing things with this scene.
Why was there a parade in May?
I have no idea, but
Yeah.
it's still super fun.
It really is. For the longest time, too, I thought that those were his real voices because I had, at the time that I'd seen it, 4 years old, I was like, oh, he sings Twist and Shout. Later to learn that, no, that's a Beatles song.
Donka Shane, too. That always threw me off because I thought he was lip syncing a woman's song, which really confused me.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Great songs to be had in the middle of a parade, though, too. Like, that for sure got the crowd going.
Oh, absolutely.
I also know a tiny tidbit that some of the construction workers that were dancing, they were not in the movie. They were not supposed to be in the movie, but John Hughes saw them while they were filming, dancing. So he's like, point the camera up, point the camera up. So that's an accurate, like, those are real people.
Working?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool.
I recognize this from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, Mutant Mayhem, right? They're watching it on TV?
Yeah, they go to watch a movie in the park and it's Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I do remember that scene.
Yeah, because you and I looked at each other and we're like, oh, we need to show them that because they have no idea what Ferris Bueller is.
There you go.
How about some positives? I know that you really liked that he breaks the fourth wall.
Yes, so for listeners that aren't familiar with breaking the fourth wall, it is literally just when a character will look at the screen, look at you as the audience, and just talk to us.
The key to faking out the parents is the clammy hands. It's a good non-specific symptom. I'm a big believer in it. A lot of people will tell you that a good phony fever is a deadlock, but you get a nervous mother, you could wind up in a doctor's office. That's worse than school.
And they do it in movies like Deadpool and Wayne's World and the movie High Fidelity for parents and like Cat in the Hat. And then a big one is Fight Club.
Side note, if you want to laugh at me for this, when I was younger, I always thought Cameron was Edward Norton in Fight Club. I don't know why I thought they looked so similar. And then I grew up and I'm like, you're silly. Those are not the same people.
Which is interesting because there's a theory on this movie that Ferris Bueller is actually the Tyler Durden. I guess Ferris Bueller is make-believe and Cameron is the one who is using like Ferris as a way out and do these things that he wouldn't normally do because he's kind of shut in.
It's like his alter ego.
Yeah, so I really like the theory because we'll get into it later of Ferris and his problems.
So maybe I was onto something as a 5-year-old.
Maybe. But I always like the scene where Ferris was like in the shower and he's talking to people, but he has a mohawk in his hair.
Yeah.
I think that's another one of those iconic scenes that I know I made mohawks with my hair in the shower because of this movie. As well as when he gets out of the shower, he has like a brown towel for the bottom, and then he does his hair up like women or people with long hair usually do to dry their hair off. They just twirl it up.
Yep.
Like that's another thing that I got from this movie. And then I like when he's talking to the screen and giving you tips on how to fool your parents. And it shows up on the screen like 1, 2, 3, like do these things. It's just super cool. I like that they're doing it. And this was the first time that I ever saw it in a movie.
Yeah, it makes it unique. Another big positive is if you're from Chicago, you're going to love this movie, which we are. But even if you're not familiar with Chicago, John Hughes really paints a picture of our city and does a great job.
He really does.
Throughout this movie, you get to see numerous skyline shots. We visit the Cubs Stadium, the Stock Exchange, the Sears Tower, the Art Institute, and then the parade goes down Dearborn.
It does. Have you been to all these places, Mommy?
I sure have.
Yeah, like Mommy said, if you have never been to Chicago before, these are kind of just the iconic places that you should go. So in a way, John Hughes just made the blueprint, or was your travel agent to tell you, hey, these places are where you need to go.
These are where you're going to get those great pictures.
Yeah, you really will.
With them exploring this great city too, I just love their trio friendship. Clearly Sloane is Ferris's girlfriend, but you could just tell she cares about Cameron too. And I really like this because they talk, she holds his head when he's having a breakdown, etc. It just seems very real and relatable. Like when you're in a close friend group like that, when you're in high school, you love your significant other as well as your friends. And I love that Ferris never appears jealous because they are all just really close friends.
This also feeds into that Fight Club theory that Ferris isn't there at all, that Cameron and Sloane are the ones that are together. Crazy, right?
It is wild. So like all the things that Sloane loves about Cameron is really Ferris.
Yeah, it's just his outgoing side.
That now we're starting to get into some like Inception stuff, and I can't. It's too deep.
I can't handle this right now.
It's too deep.
That's a whole other podcast.
We're gonna get stuck in a loop. But yeah, it's just simple. But I love that they show a realistic high school friendship group.
It is very nice.
The last positive I want to mention is usually with the messages in movies, we need to interpret them for ourselves, but Ferris spells it out for us. He simply says,
Yep. I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Which is so true, and I love this. We need those hooky days. We need to stop and smell the roses, if you will, because otherwise we're going to wake up one day and have a job and kids and grandkids, and our life is going to have been completely passed by.
Yes, it's a great message, and a lot of people need to do it.
Stay present. Get off your phones.
And now some negatives. I had mentioned earlier that we were going to get into Ferris Bueller and his issues. Ferris is such a jerk. Like, there's no easy way to say it or nice way to say it. He's a jerk. He gaslights his friend so bad. And it's like, he says things to him like,
If you're not over here in 15 minutes, you can find a new best friend.
and Cameron is legit sick. Like, he's got a problem in this.
You can tell he has depression.
Yeah, it's not so much sick like he's got a cough or anything like that. He's got a mental illness, and which is another thing that feeds into the Fight Club theory. But yes, he's got his problems that he's trying to deal with that day, and Ferris just straight up has him come over and says like, hey, you know, I want you, I need you, we need to do this thing today. Which is weird because he needs him to come pick him up. So he needs Cameron, and he's still going to be this mean to him. It blows my mind.
I mean, I could play devil's advocate with that, though, and say when you think of typical boy friendships, they're not going to talk about things. But maybe Ferris feels, hey, I know you're down in the dumps, and I really want to give my friend a great day. And I need to push him in order to get here, though. He's charming. He's using his charming jerkness.
Yeah, I see what you're saying here. To me, I wouldn't want a friend like this. I don't know. Maybe when I was 17, 16, I would have not seen that. I would have just seen a friend who's trying to get me to go out like you're saying. But as of now, if I saw somebody being a friend like that to our girls, I'd be like, absolutely not. You got to lose that friendship.
Adulthood struck.
Yep.
Along with adulthood, I don't like that it glorifies skipping school and being a liar. More so the being a liar. Like,
fooling your parents.
Yes, the layers that Ferris goes through with the recordings and the mannequin in his bed and all these crazy things. Licking his palms, like you said earlier. These are the things you need to do to
Yeah, he's giving tips.
Yeah, you're fooling your parents. Not a fan. Don't be teaching kids this.
Yeah, and we actually showed our girls this movie. This was our idea, so that's pretty funny.
It's ironic, that's for sure. This movie also made me think that principals were just crazy. Mr. Rooney has such a wild, wild obsession with Ferris Bueller. Why are you focusing on this one student?
Something's going on, and I'm going to find out what it is. I'm going to catch this kid, and I'm going to put one hell of a dent in his future. 15 years from now, when he looks back on the ruin his life's become, he is going to remember Edward Rooney.
Yeah, this is a subplot of the movie that Mr. Rooney, as principal, is trying to like thwart these plans and trying to show everybody and reveal to them that Ferris is out and about, he's playing hooky, he's skipping school for his own pleasures, and he himself keeps getting thwarted. Like, there's a dog that attacks him, and he slips in mud, and he gets beat up. Like, there's just so many occasions that...
Yes, and let's go into that. Again, this is why I thought they were so crazy. What teacher, principal, anything is going to physically go to a student's house, knock on the door, and when he can't get in, he's like sneaking around their house and then gets to the point where he actually enters their home.
Yeah, I think it's just because Ferris Bueller is popular, so maybe he just wants to prove to the popular kids, like, hey, I'm the principal here. You are not going to get away with it under my watch.
Nobody's safe.
Yes.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if it's a negative completely, but I don't understand how Ferris's dad doesn't know Sloane in the taxi cab scene.
Yes. So they're in taxi cabs right next to each other, and the dad looks over, sees all three of them for a moment, and looks forward again, then has that moment of, wait, did I just see my son? And when he looks back, it's just Sloane.
Yeah, and all she has on are black sunglasses, and it just always boggled my mind because have you never seen or met your son's girlfriend? Like, sunglasses don't hide that much.
Yeah, I think this is more of a nitpick than a negative, but I understand this nitpick completely, so I'm on your side with it.
All right, cool. So it'll be deemed a negative.
And what other positives or negatives come with parental guidance, Mommy?
So the language is moderate. They're high schoolers, so there's a lot of profanity sprinkled in there. But there's only one use of the word parents are usually most concerned about.
I think most of the language actually comes from Rooney, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Honestly, yeah. He's just a really bad role model, okay?
Yeah, he is.
He is not the principal any of us want for our children.
Nope.
Violence, yes, but it's mostly played off as comedic. We talked a little bit about Mr. Rooney and getting attacked by the dog and then knocking the dog out. And it's just, he just ends up looking so beat up and battered at the end because then Jeannie kicks him in the face. It's just, he's a hot mess. But outside of that, Ferris smacks Cameron over the head. Then there's some violence in the form of Cameron taking his frustrations out on his father's car, which leads me into scary. I remember being so panicked watching that car smash through the window as a kid. Like, oh my God, run for it.
Yes, this was his dad's prized possession. Like, the whole movie he's concerned with it. He's like, we gotta be home by a certain time. We gotta make sure it doesn't get scratched. And it's just crazy.
Yeah, he says, my father loves his car more than he loves me.
Yeah, I see it more as like an anxiety moment when it goes out the window. Not so much scary, but yeah, it fits in that category.
Yeah, just panic. And then I'm bringing up Rooney again because I know at the end it just creeped me out. He was just so beat up, bloody, and nasty looking. He looked like he just smelled. So as a kid, it was more creep factor than scary, but I still feel like it borders on that. Lastly, some grown-up stuff. We see people drinking and smoking in the background at restaurants. Jeannie gets asked if she's on drugs while at the police station. She also mentions that she has a scorching sickness to the intruder in her home. Parents, you know what I mean by this. There's also quite a bit of kissing and talk of the birds and the bees, but that all went over our girls' heads. The only one that made me nervous was the nurse who comes to the door with that rhyme. Our kids are pretty smart, and honestly, we use that word quite often, so I was pretty worried that they were going to finish it. I think Zosha knew it, but it was still like, huh? She didn't understand the context.
Yeah. And then as for an age recommendation, you know your kids better than we do. We're just here to give our opinions. Outside of the language and the kissing scenes, I think younger kids will enjoy this movie. I guess we're going to find out in a moment, though. But I'm going to say 8 and up is a fine age to show them. And Rotten Tomato critics have this movie at a 57%, which is a thumbs middle. Audience have it a bunch higher at 86%, which is a thumbs up. Let's see how it holds up in our house. Zosha, do you give Ferris Bueller's Day Off a thumbs up, a thumbs middle, or a thumbs down?
Thumbs middle.
Thumbs middle. Why thumbs middle?
Because I didn't really understand it all.
Okay, that's fine. Amelia?
Thumbs up.
A thumbs up. Why a thumbs up?
It's funny and I like it.
Okay, that's fine. Mommy?
I came into this fully thinking I was going to give it a thumbs up still, but I think I'm going to retract a bit and go thumbs middle. I still love this movie. I love the Chicago feel in it, and it's super fun, but it's just not as great as other John Hughes films. What about you, Daddy?
I went into this thinking that I was going to give it a thumbs middle, and I'm retracting it. I'm going thumbs down. I think that this movie has some iconic moments. Obviously, the parade is great, but Ferris is just such a bad person that I don't want anybody to have to see this movie to see what a bad person he is and have that influence. Now, if you tell me that Ferris is a figment of Cameron's imagination and we go with a Fight Club theory, I think this movie's pretty good. But as it is now, I'm going to go thumbs down.
All right. All over the board today.
Definitely. And if any of you would like to add Ferris Bueller's Day Off to your movie night list, it is currently available on Paramount Plus or available across platforms.
And after watching, let us know if you give it thumbs up, thumbs middle, or thumbs down.
And when you want to let us know what you think about the movie, please find us on social media. We like to post pictures of us on our movie nights, letting you know what snacks and sweets we're eating. We post a dad joke as well as a sneak peek clip themed to the episode coming out that week. It's a fun place to hang out.
Our Facebook is It's Movie Night, and our Instagram is It's Movie Night Pod.
Thank you for listening.
Join us next week for another movie night.
Bye.